They appear in shimmering lights, captured in fleeting moments on camera, figures that defy earthly explanation. Could these ethereal beings be angels, guardians of a spiritual realm unseen by most? We're delving into the most compelling images of unexplained figures, examining the evidence through a lens of both faith and skepticism. Prepare to explore the mysterious and contemplate the possibility of the divine.
Coming in at number 10, we have Truck On. In May 2018, a fire chief in East Jordan claimed that a security camera took this image of an angel flying over his truck. Glenn Thorman said that CCTV caught an angel flying over his vehicle and then disappeared out of frame. He said, "That's an angel," and I was just blown away. The Jordan River's Facebook page shared the image and said, "These photos have not been altered in any way. The second photo, the security camera also shot because the angel was moving away. The camera is designed to photograph anything in motion or unusual. Lots of tears today when they opened the security on their camera." Wow. Some skeptics are saying it's a moth nearer to the camera and that the picture lacks depth perception, but others are straight up convinced it's an angel. Coming into number 9, we have the Texan experience. Danny Ferrero was driving in Texas in July 2018 when he saw something beautiful in the sky. He stopped to take a picture of his view down Highway 105 and then shared the image of the sun setting in the clouds on Facebook. The beams of light through the clouds very much looked like an angel spreading their wings, and the good people of Facebook thought so too. The image was shared on the social media platform 12,000 times. Ferrero said that the sighting came at the right time. He'd been having some family issues. He said, "God can speak to us in many different ways, and for that I'm thankful." Coming into number 8, we have Angels in Mecca. A YouTube video was uploaded to the video sharing site in August 2010. Now, it was said to have been shot in Mecca in 2008. Mecca, of course, is a holy desert valley in Saudi Arabia, sacred to those of the Islamic faith. So this video is pretty blurry, but such was life in 2008. I have to admit, something strange is happening here. Perhaps it's an angel visiting one of the holiest spots on earth, or maybe it's a lens flare. You decide. Coming into number 7, we have Dark Angel or Dementor. Some people in Kitwe in Zambia were convinced that they had seen a dark angel, or an angel of death perhaps, looking over the Mkuba Mall. The dark humanoid figure appeared in the clouds with seemingly no explanation. The apparition was 100 meters long and very much looked like a Harry Potter Dementor. Dementors, of course, administer kisses of death and suck out souls, so not great. People had mixed reactions to the figure in the clouds. Some people thought it was an angel of some kind or some kind of embodiment of God, so they started worshipping it. Others were terrified and they ran away in fear. Apparently the mystery cloud hung around for around half an hour and then it disappeared. How strange. Coming into number 6, we have a guardian angel. A lot of people talk about guardian angels, benevolent forces that watch over them and protect them from harm. This is a lovely idea, but is there any proof that such a thing exists? Well, this CCTV footage from a road in China seems to offer a shred of proof. A guy on a motorbike is about to be obliterated by an oncoming truck when his guardian angel flies in at super speed and rescues him right in the nick of time. Now this does leave him very confused. He's baffled, but he's alive. So have a look at this footage and let me know what you think for yourself. The video was uploaded in September 2012 and has been watched over 11 million times. Is this proof of a higher force? Well, it turns out that actually this is a hoax. It's a viral marketing campaign for a Chinese game called Dragon Totem Girl. Makes me kinda sad. Speaking of guardian angels, it seems one showed up at a hospital at number 5. I found this image alongside the story of Chelsea Banton. Chelsea was 14 when she nearly died of pneumonia. Now her illness had reached the point where doctors recommended switching off her life support. Her mother made the unthinkable decision to follow the doctor's advice. Now it was thought that Chelsea would quickly die, but she survived the night and then began to make a miraculous recovery. One of the nurses had reported a man standing by Chelsea's door, and when her mother seemed totally baffled by it, they watched over the CCTV footage. This is what they saw. Whether or not it's just a patch of light from a particularly sunny window, or whether what you're seeing is actually the figure of an angel, one thing's for sure, what happened to Chelsea was an absolute miracle. Coming into number 4, we have this Stairway to Heaven. In July 2018, footage from Tuscaloosa, Alabama was uploaded to the internet. The video was shot on a stormy day and the camera captures the dark clouds, only there's something going on in those clouds. If you look closely, you can see what looks like two two people walking through them. Now they don't appear to have wings, but could these be angels anyway? It seems that the footage was shot as part of a live stream and only later were the figures spotted. On YouTube, the miraculous video has been viewed 2.2 million times. Now Alabama is a pretty religious place and it seemed to have many people locally as well as further spread across the world totally convinced of heavenly activity. There's something similar happening in Ghana at number 3. A Ghanaian news channel reported on a strange sighting in Danzaman, Ghana. The news presenter shares the video, so maybe angels can choose to have wings when they want, and maybe sometimes vampires can't go into the sun, but then maybe sometimes they glitter like Edward Cullen. See what I'm saying? Coming in at number 2, we have fairies or tiny angels. Anyone watching who's roughly my age or a few years older from the UK, do you remember Goldie looking Jane? Because I certainly do. I really enjoyed them as a teen, and you know what, who doesn't love a bit of Welsh rap at the best of times? You might be wondering what they're up to now. Well, let me tell you, spotting fairies in the garden. That's what. So John Rutledge, a member of Goldie Looking Chain, was out having a lovely walk with his dog in Newbridge, Wales, when he decided to take some snaps of the beautiful sunny summer's day. Now, if the sun is shining in the UK, especially Wales, you are going to want to capture that on camera. It turns out that John got more than he bargained for when he looked at his film. While he surveyed his pictures after his walk, he realised that he had actually captured what looked like 7 tiny winged humanoids. Now, are these little angels or are they fairies? Or are fairies just tiny angels anyway? The pop star said that ever since childhood he wanted to witness a paranormal event. He said, "The last thing I expected was a winged entity in a wood in South Wales, but there it is, smack bang in your face. It's solid evidence." Imagine him saying that in his Welsh accent. Solid. On closer inspection, the picture is seemingly legit. It does look like tiny winged people. Finally, coming into number 1, this honestly did have me convinced. We have the Russian landing. In 2016, on a live news broadcast in Russia, a bright light interrupted the host. Now, I don't know what she's saying, but maybe our Russian audience will know. The presenter seems totally shocked. Her reaction seems pretty genuine. What else could this be? We don't see wings or anything, it's just a ball of light, but it's really strange, and again, her reaction speaks volumes. Was this an actual angel caught on camera?
Starting our list off at number 10 is the truck angel. A man in Michigan was sure he saw an angel after receiving a photo of what appeared to be one floating above his truck. Glenn Thorman claimed his motion-censored camera snapped the picture, which he then immediately sent to his wife and pastor of his church. Speaking with a local news station, Thorman explained and he said, "That's an angel." And I was just blown away. I couldn't wait to send it to my wife and send it to Pastor Daniel Mose. I said I got an angel and my camera took a picture of an angel. Mo spoke with the outlet as well, telling them I went like, whoa, and I texted him back, "That's an angel." There wasn't any doubt in my mind that we were looking at something supernatural. With that being said, others thought they may have an explanation for the phenomena, with Joe Clark of Glass Lake Photography claiming it could just be a moth. LOL. It definitely does look moth shaped in the first photo, I'm not gonna lie. You can kind of clearly see what it looks like, or it could be interpreted as wings and a head, but at the same time, since it's not clearly in focus, and since it is what it is, there may be room for interpretation. We don't know.
Now at number 9, Angel in the Skies. A man named Lee Howdle was walking in Peak District National Park in England when he caught something on his camera that many are speculating could be more than just a weather phenomenon. Being a photographer, it's likely he went out with the intention of snapping some interesting photos, but he got more than he could have ever imagined. Explaining what happened, he told a local news outlet, I quote, "My shadow looked huge. It was in the circular rainbow. Took some photos of it and carried on walking. It was like an angel in the sky over the hills. It was quite magical." According to the UK's Met Office, this is known as a Brock Inspector or Mountain Inspector, and is listed in the top 10 spookiest weather conditions. The Met's website explains this effect is produced when an observer stands above the upper surface of a cloud on a mountain or high ground with the sun behind them. When they view their shadow, the light is reflected back in such a way that a spooky circular glory appears around the point directly opposite the sun. As always, people try to come up with logical explanations for illogical situations, and it seems that this could be a case of that. Although there is a scientific explanation, I don't know. I think maybe we're just trying to make ourselves believe it's science when maybe it's something more.
At number 8, we have answered prayers. A 48-year-old evangelical minister in Charleston, West Virginia, woke up in the middle of the night and felt the need to pray. Upon doing so, he claims a literal sign from God came to him in the form of an angel. On August 4th, 2013, around 3:46 a.m., you can see what appears to be an angelic-like figure appear on Charles Shelton's security cameras. As per the Daily Mail, the light appeared outside and passed into Shelton's living room twice, fluttering like it had wings. Shelton explained he he's seen angels on 2 previous occasions, but this time round didn't tell anyone until he realized he had to. I was astonished. The Lord revealed to me that this was his angel and his presence. Praying for his neighborhood and those affected with addiction, Shelton is a believer. This sign was enough to show everyone that no matter what's happening, it's for a good reason. Crime has been growing for a long time. You hear about shootings, killings, and vandalism. When somebody sees angels, why can't we just let people know? God's presence is in the neighborhood. No wonder how rough it may get, God is still in the midst. I don't care what critics say, I know what happened. I trust you, Shelton, but I wasn't there, so I'm not gonna completely trust you.
On to number 7, Bruce Van Natta. The man was once a diesel mechanic who worked on those big heavy trucks, you know, those transport trucks with 18 wheels, those bad boys. Unfortunately, one day while working on a truck and winding down for the day, the driver of the truck asked Bruce to check one more thing. What should have been a routine check ended up with Bruce being crushed by the truck after one of the jacks holding up the front of the truck gave in. Bruce was under the truck feet first, meaning the lower half of his torso was literally being crushed. This led to him having an out-of-body experience where Bruce saw not only himself and the driver who was trying to lift the truck, but 2 angelic-like figures on each side of his body. He went on to explain 2 voices in his head were telling him conflicting things. One to just close your eyes and relax and you'll go to heaven. The other was telling him to fight if he wanted to live, but it would be no easy task. Bruce would end up making it to hospital and recovering, even though he was told his abdomen was crushed and he only had a year to live. Now he's sharing his story with the world. He wrote a book about his experience and started a website trying to enlighten the rest of the world about his out-of-body experience and his experience with angels.
Filling in number 6 slot is the Pink Angel. In 2013, following the new Pope's first appearance at the Vatican, a pink-like angelic figure was seen in the skies of Florida. As you can imagine, people were split in regards to what caused the angelic-like cloud to form, as some genuinely believed it was a sign, and others were quick to dismiss the idea it was related to religion at all. One woman told a local outlet, "Simply amazing. God bless our new Pope. May the Holy Spirit and all the angels and saints be with us all through this time of transition within the Holy Church." While another skeptic man asked, why do people always have to look for religion in everything? Considering how the angel-looking cloud formed just hours after the new Pope greeted everyone, I understand why people thought it could have been a sign, even if the cloud formed on the other side of the world.
Halfway at 5, Aaron Potter. First diagnosed with leukemia in 2007, life was incredibly tough for young Potter. After beating cancer twice, it came back a 3rd time, and this required Aaron to receive a 2nd bone marrow transplant. Just days before she underwent surgery, Aaron was outside playing with sparklers, and her mother Jen took a photo. While looking through the photos, Jen noticed a figure behind Aaron who Jen believes resembles Mother Mary. After Aaron's successful surgery, she would be cancer-free, and Jen, along with her husband Kevin, genuinely believed there was some kind of divine intervention that saved their little girl. Regardless of what it was, I'm just happy that Aaron is healthy and wish her all the best.
Now number 4 is the angel on the plane. This story here is about a 7-year-old boy named Asher who loves to snap photos on his mother's phone. On a flight back from visiting his older brother, Asher, while sitting on a plane waiting to take off, decided he wanted to take some pictures. As the plane started to take off, there was significant turbulence which made Asher incredibly uncomfortable, prompting his mother to give him the phone to snap some pictures. Thinking it would be a pretty good distraction, Asher started taking the photos, and his mom eventually got the phone back and started to go through them and delete them as she usually does. However, she stumbled upon one photo in which she saw what appears to be an angel. In fact, she believes it was Asher's guardian angel looking over him, and although she admits she'll never know for sure what it was, she believes it happened for a reason.
On to number 3, Sports Angel. On November 7th, 2009, Doug Luatter was supposed to coach a youth football game, and his son Kyle was going to be the assistant coach. Unfortunately, on the way to the game, Kyle would be involved in a fatal accident. However, following the game, a man would take a photo of his grandson and teammate, which would later make the local news. An image of a white figure appeared to be beside the 2 boys in the field, and after seeing the story about the photo, Doug, his family, and many others believe that Kyle did end up making his way to the game. Although he understands why people would dismiss the idea that it is Kyle in the form of an angel being seen in the photo, he's firm in his belief that it was the sign he was asking for and doesn't feel the need to question it any further.
Filling on number 2 slot is Chelsea Banton. Born 5 weeks prematurely, Chelsea unfortunately grew up with numerous developmental disabilities and was in and out of the hospital for most of her youth. At age 14, she was hospitalized with pneumonia, and it appeared that Chelsea didn't have much longer. Having to make an incredibly heartbreaking and tough decision, her mother decided she wanted the doctors to pull the plug, keeping Chelsea alive, claiming it would be unfair and selfish to have her go on living the way she was living. However, it seems someone or something had other plans, as Chelsea remained in stable condition even hours after the plug was pulled. While nurses looked at the monitor outside of her room, they saw what appeared to be a figure, but when they went to the door, they saw nothing. Other hospital staff and even Chelsea's mum saw the figure on the screen, but nothing in person. Remarkably, Chelsea would make a complete recovery, and many claim it was an angel who saved her to life and who appeared on screen. Unfortunately, Chelsea did end up passing away at just 21 years old on November 28, 2015, but will forever be known as Chelsea Angel Girl Banton.
At number 1, angel clouds. A man in South Carolina couldn't believe what he was seeing and immediately started to film what he believed was an angel in the sky. On October 20th, 2016, Corey Huron filmed a cloud which appeared to be in the shape of an angel, and he claims it was definitely a sign from up above. During a time in which he was questioning his spirituality, Corey claims this was a direct message for him to keep the faith, telling CNN, "The wind didn't seem to disturb it, and it remained in the same place for 15 to 20 minutes. At the time of this recording, the video has been shared over 300,000 times, and Corey also received tons of messages from people all over the world thanking him for sharing the video. He told CNN, "It's just a blessing what an uplift this has been for so many people."
Number 10. Cherubim. Cherubim are often depicted as cute little babies with wings, but that is most definitely not the case. Cherubim are featured in the book of Ezekiel. They are described as having the likeness of a man and having 4 faces. That of a man, a lion on the right side, an ox on the left side, and an eagle. The 4 faces represent the 4 domains of God's rule. The man represents humanity, the lion, wild animals, the ox, domesticated animals, and the eagle, birds. These faces peer out from the center of an array of 4 wings, and these wings are joined to each other. 2 of these are stretched upward, and the other 2 cover their bodies. Under their wings are human hands, their legs are described as straight, and their feet like those of a calf, shining like polished brass. Between the creatures, growling coals that move between them should be seen. Their fire went up and down, and lightning burst forth from it. They also move like flashes of lightning, and to me this is just terrifying, and I would run far, far away from this. Number 9. Lucifer. Yes, Lucifer is a fallen angel. Angels are spiritual beings who were created by God to do his will, but some of them rebelled against God and became evil. Now, Lucifer didn't create any angels, only God had that power, but Lucifer did trick some of them into rebelling against God and becoming his followers, claiming that he was more powerful than God and would take God's place as ruler of the universe. They believed him, and since then, Lucifer has used them to do his will. His pride persuaded them. "I will ascend to heaven, I will raise my throne above the stars of God, I will make myself the most high." Isaiah 14. Lucifer also sends the worst people up to earth to wreak havoc and terrorize everyone, as well as tries to tempt non-sinners to the dark side. So overall, not a great dude. Number 8. Kushiel. In Judeo-Christian folklore, the angel Kushiel is nicknamed the Angel of Punishment, and the name directly translates to God's Rigid One. He is the one who is responsible for punishing massive groups of people, like countries or empires. He punishes them with a giant whip of fire, which just sounds terrifying. Each lashing brought on by the whip represents a collective sin committed by a large group of people. An example of this is war crimes. Now, these lashes are rumored to be felt by the souls of every single person who's responsible for that sin. Seems like no one will get let off the hook. This angel is also responsible for punishing people who are condemned to an eternity in hell. Number 7. Trumpeting angels. The trumpeting angels are 7 angels each with a trumpet, and when they are sounded one at a time, it cues apocalyptic events. Upon the sound of the first trumpet, hail and fire mingled with blood is thrown to earth, burning up a third of the trees on the planet and all green grass. With the sounding of the second trumpet, something described as a great mountain burning with fire plunges into the sea and turns a third of the oceans to blood. Nice. Soon after, a third of all sea life and a third of all ships will be destroyed. With the sounding of the third trumpet, a great star called Wormwood falls to Earth, poisoning a third of the planet's fresh water sources, such as rivers and springs. And it's said that many will die from the bitterness of its taste. Following the sounding of the fourth trumpet, a third of the light that shines from the sun, moon, and stars becomes dark from the celestial bodies being struck. The fifth trumpet prompts a personified star to fall from heaven. The star is given the key to the bottomless pit. After opening it, the smoke that rises out of the pit darkens the air and blocks the sunlight. Then, from out of the smoke, the lotuses, scorpion-tailed war horses that have a man's face with lion's teeth, are unleashed. They are commanded by their king, Abaddon, to torment anyone who does not have the seal of God on their forehead by using their scorpion-like tails. When the sixth trumpet sounds, 4 angels are released from their binds in the great river Euphrates. I hope I'm saying that right. They command a force of 200 million mounted troops whose horses exude plagues of fire, smoke, and brimstone from their mouths. The horses have a lion's head, and their tails as well are like a serpent with a head. The plagues exuding from the horses will kill a third of all mankind. And when the seventh trumpet sounds, loud voices in heaven will say, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and his Messiah, and he will reign forever and ever." So yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. That just sounds absolutely terrifying. Number 6. Ophanim. Ophanim are a class of celestial beings who are very wise, known as the Angel of Knowledge. These angels never sleep as they guard the throne of God. In Christian angelology, they are one of the choirs, classes of angels, and are also called thrones. Now, what do they look like? Well, none other than 4 eye-covered wheels, each composed of 2 nested wheels. Flaming wheels in the sky, constantly spinning with hundreds of eyes covering it. It's a no for me. That just sounds absolutely horrifying. They're always watching and making sure that everything lines up with God's will. Now, what happens if they see something not so holy? You'd get punished. They are like a security camera running 24/7. I would not want to get on these beings' bad side. Number 5. Seraphim. Seraphim are flying serpents. Flying serpents as angels. In Christian, Islamic, and Jewish writings, the seraphim are celestial beings portrayed as having 2 or 3 pairs of wings and serving as guardians of God's throne. The prophet Isaiah tells us that the seraphim are 6-winged fiery angels who surround God as he sits upon his exalted throne and continually worships God. Isaiah 6. The seraphim also minister the Lord and serve as his agents of purification, as demonstrated by their cleansing of Isaiah's sins before his prophetic ministry. Each seraph is described as having 6 wings, 2 wings used to cover their face, 2 to cover their feet, and the remaining 2 to fly. One reason the seraphim may use 4 of their 6 wings to cover themselves is to express their humility before God. In particular, these angels may use a pair of wings to cover their faces to show God reverence, considering themselves unworthy to look upon the face of God, and also in obedience to the Lord's admonition that no one may see his face and live. The fact that the seraphim also use a second pair of wings to cover their feet may further display reverence for God, and that the angels may be refusing to reveal any unclean aspects of their being before the Lord. The seraphim use the remaining 2 wings to fly and wait upon God, and the visualization of this is just creepy. Number 4. Abaddon. Abaddon is described as destroyer, the angel of the abyss. In the book of Revelation of the New Testament, Abaddon is described as the king of an army of locusts. You know, the scorpion-tailed war horses that have a man's face with lion's teeth that torments for 5 months anyone who does not have the seal of God on their foreheads. Those ones, the ones I mentioned before. Yeah, well, he's their king, so if you thought they were bad, watch out. It's also said during Judgment Day, he will gather the souls of the damned and carry them down to the place of God's final judgment. So that's great. Number 3. Samael. Samael is a figure who is the accuser or adversary, seducer, and destroyer. Although many of his functions resemble the Christian notion of Satan, the point of being sometimes identified as a fallen angel, as he is not necessarily evil, since his functions are also regarded as resulting in good, such as destroying sinners. He is considered to be a member of the heavenly host with often grim and destructive duties. One of Samael's greatest roles in Jewish lore is that he is the main angel of death and head of Satan's. Although he condones the sins of man, he remains one of God's servants. He appears frequently in the story of the Garden of Eden and engineered the fall of Adam and Eve with a snake in writings during the Second Temple period. He's known to seduce people into acts of evil, causing them to sin so he can destroy them. Kinda messed up, don't you think? There's also a story of him trying to kill an unborn baby, and as an angel, why would you even think about doing that? But that's a story for another time. Number 2. The Watchers. The Watchers are angels that were dispatched to Earth to watch over the humans. While down there, they taught humans secret knowledge, such as weaponry, cosmetics, mirrors, sorcery, and other techniques that would otherwise be discovered gradually over time by humans. So yeah, they taught humans about weapons, and that was a great idea. Now, watching over humans seems like an easy job, but like typical men, they began to lust for human women and started to procreate with them. The offspring of these unions are called the Nephilim, which are savage giants who were 1,000 feet tall, who pillaged the earth and endangered humanity. They also forced humans into slavery to produce more food, so that's nice. Now, due to all this, God eventually found out and allowed a great flood to rid the earth of the Nephilim, but first sent Uriel to warn Noah so as not to eradicate the human race. The Watchers messed up so bad that God needed a redo. Great job, guys. Truly. And coming in at number 1 is Azrael. Azrael is known as the Archangel of Death. This angel refuses to show its true form because just seeing him can drive demons and lower ranking angels to insanity. And if a human sees him, they will instantly die. If he does ever show you his true form though, you'll see that he's entirely covered in tongues and eyes. The amount of tongues and eyes are also constantly changing as they reflect how many people are alive on Earth. He also has 4 faces and 4,000 wings. He is one of God's oldest angels and is the embodiment of death itself, as he collects the souls of people who have passed away and takes them to the afterlife. Now, if I died and this greeted me, I think I'd die all over again. Both in Islam and Judaism, he is said to hold a scroll concerning the fate of mortals, recording and erasing their names at their birth and death respectively.
Starting us off at number 10, we have cherubim. So you know those adorable little chubby babies you see floating around in old Renaissance paintings? Those are cherubs, right? Apparently wrong. It seems like old painters took some creative licensing and decided to draw a much cuter and watered down version of what we actually see in the Bible. Instead of little cupids in the Bible, cherubim are described as being human-like, but with some rather disturbing adjustments. For starters, they are said to have 4 faces. On the front is the face of a human, on the right side the face of a lion, on the left the face of an ox, and the fourth face was that of an eagle. But it only gets weirder. They have human legs, but the feet of a calf. Oh, and the wings. Yes, they have wings, but apparently 2 pairs. One spreading out and upward, the other covering its body, which is apparently also on fire. So yeah, they looked just like people, except they were quadrilateral, had cloven feet, a bunch of animal faces, and were also on fire. I'm just saying, if I ran into this creature, there is no way I'm jumping to the conclusion of an angel. I guess that's why they always tell you not to be afraid, because they look like a living nightmare. Moving on to number 9, Azrael, aka the Grim Reaper. Azrael is the angel that comes and welcomes you to the afterlife when your time has come. Now, you might assume that the scariest part about this angel is that he only shows up when you are about to die, but have you ever wondered why he's always in that long black cloak? Why it is that we never really see what he looks like? That, as it turns out, is by design. This angel refuses to show its true form because it said just seeing him can drive demons and lower ranking angels to insanity. And if a human sees him, they will instantly die. But don't feel too left out, because according to the Islamic Book of Dead, Azrael has as many tongues and eyes as there are people on the planet, as well as 4,000 wings. I mean, just take a minute and really try to picture an entity made entirely out of tongues, eyeballs, and wings. It sounds like something out of a horror movie about an evil scientist. Next up at number 8, Seraphim. Usually when I think of snakes, the first thing that comes to mind is Satan, but apparently there are terrifying angels called Seraphim that are, I kid you not, flying serpents who hover above God's throne and sing in devotion to him. Each is said to have 6 wings, but only use 2 to fly and use the other 4 to cover up their feet and faces so as to show modesty before the Lord. Yes, as if a flying snake with 6 wings wasn't a terrifying enough image for you, let me just repeat that they have feet. Oh, and they are also on fire. Apparently a theme here. Now, to be clear, obviously they are angels, so their being on fire is not the same as a demon being on fire, and the implication is that these angels burn with love for God. But burning with love or not, if I was to see a flying and flaming serpent with 6 wings and feet, I would be pretty freaked out. Moving on to number 7, Ophanim. So remember a few points back when I was talking about cherubs and how they're not anything like what we have been told in popular depictions? Well, it actually gets a little crazier. In Ezekiel's version, the cherub doesn't come alone. They have a little buddy that tags along known as Ophanim. Now, these angels are said to be very wise, known as an angel of knowledge, and are meant to guide human beings on the right path by providing them knowledge and wisdom and helping them to apply this knowledge in the practical world. Which that part sounds great. But these all-knowing beings are described as being interlocking floating gold wheels with a set of eyes covering the outside part. Oh, and of course, they are also on fire. Now, I don't know about you, but flaming wheels in the sky covered in hundreds of eyes, watching the world's every move to make sure that everything lines up with God's will, is not something that I would like to be face to face with. Plus, if they see something unholy or deemed against God's will, well, they will likely have no problem eliminating it entirely. Moving on to number 6, Samael. The archangel Samael, who is seen as the accuser, adversary, seducer, and destroyer, can often be associated with Satan or a fallen angel, but he's not necessarily evil, since his functions are also regarded as resulting in good, such as destroying sinners. That being said, in the story of the Garden of Eden, it was Samael who engineered the fall of Adam and Eve with a snake, and this is a little Easter egg for later, but according to the book of Enoch, he is one of the Watchers who descended to earth and essentially ruined everything. And if that wasn't terrifying enough, he's known to seduce people into acts of evil, causing them to sin so he can destroy them. So, like, maybe not the greatest of all angels, you know? Moving on to number 5, Kushiel. In Judeo-Christian folklore, the angel Kushiel, meaning rigid one of God, is one of the 7 angels of punishment and resides in hell, punishing the damned souls. Now, maybe I'm just a doofus, but I was under the impression that it was mostly demons doing the punishing in hell. Apparently not. According to scripture, Satan and his demons are inmates in hell, not its wardens or guards, and it's actually angels that do the punishment. So with that knowledge, as a presiding angel of hell, Kushiel is said to punish massive groups of people, like empires or countries, and to do so uses a whip made of fire, and it's said that each lashing brought on by the whip represents a collective sin committed by a large group of people, like war or genocide. Not to mention, with a name meaning the rigid one, I don't think he will be the one to let anyone off the hook. Which, to be clear, when his purpose is to punish groups of people who committed atrocities, it's not a bad thing, but it's still terrifying. Moving on to number 4, trumpeting angels. In the book of Revelation, 7 trumpets are sounded, each by an angel, and with each trumpet that sounds, a new apocalyptic event begins. If that sounds terrifying to you, that's because it is. Upon the sound of the first trumpet, hail and fire mingled with blood is thrown to earth, burning up 1/3 of the trees on the planet and all green grass. With the sounding of the second trumpet, something described as a great mountain burning with fire plunges into the sea and turns 1/3 of the oceans to blood. Next, with the sound of 1/3, all of the sea life and 1/3 of all the ships will be destroyed, and a great star called Wormwood falls to the earth, poisoning 1/3 of the planet's fresh water. After the fourth, 1/3 of the light that shines from the sun, moon, and stars becomes dark. Following the fifth, a personified star falls from heaven and opens a bottomless pit that allows smoke to rise out of the pit and block the sunlight, which apparently lets out swarms of scorpion-tailed war horses and locusts that have been commanded to torment anyone who does not have the seal of God on their forehead. When the 6th trumpet sounds, 4 angels command a force of 200 million mounted troops whose horses exude plagues of fire, smoke, and brimstone from their mouth that will kill 1/3 of mankind. And finally, when the 7th trumpet sounds, loud voices in heaven will say, "The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and his Messiah, and he will reign forever and ever." I mean, if that's not terrifying, I don't know what is. Moving on to number 3, Abaddon. What's interesting about this next one is that there is actually some debate around who Abaddon truly sides with. Described as a destroyer or angel of abyss, some say he's an antichrist or follower of Satan, but in a lot of literature he's seen more as a king sent from God. Generally depicted as a frightening winged creature, Abaddon is said to rule over a bottomless pit filled with an army of locusts who can torment anyone at his command. Which, if we just rewind a second, remember those scorpion-tailed warhorses and locusts that were commanded to torment anyone who does not have the seal of God on their forehead? Yeah, so this angel is the guy who commanded them to do all that. Plus, it's said during Judgment Day he will gather the souls of the damned and carry them down to the place of God's final judgment. So honestly, whether he is a fallen angel or a demon, it doesn't matter to me, cause he sounds terrifying no matter what. Moving on to number 2. Moloch. Since the medieval days, the bull-headed minotaur Moloch has been a widely feared entity that anyone with their head screwed on straight would want nothing to do with. But while he's often depicted as a demon, he's actually a fallen angel who joined Lucifer in the revolt against God. And oh boy, is he terrifying. The main reason is that Moloch was known to enjoy the young offspring of humans, and it's been suggested that those that viewed him as a deity would actually sacrifice their family members for him. In the book of Leviticus, it's mentioned that anyone who offered to give up their offspring to him would be stoned to death for their sins. To be fair, he is a fallen angel that feasts on the flesh of little ones, so I mean that checks out for me. If people were really throwing their own flesh and blood into pits of fire in order to please what they believe to be their god, let's just call that a fair consequence for their insane actions. So yeah, a super scary dude. And last up in our number 1 spot, the Watchers. Okay, so as I hinted at previously, according to the Book of Enoch, the Watchers were a group of angels who, as their name would imply, were dispatched to Earth by God to watch over humans. Seems like a pretty straightforward job, right? Apparently wrong. These angels quickly became enamored watching the human women, beginning to lust after them, and soon they disobeyed the order of God and began, well, being fruitful, to put it biblically. However, as one might have been able to predict, the offspring of a celestial being and a human was not exactly a sweet little creature, but rather terrifying, bloodthirsty giants called Nephilim. These giants quickly seized control of Earth, forcing the humans to produce food for them, and unfortunately, due to the Watchers' overactive lust for the humans, the population of giants quickly spiraled out of control and the food ran out. So what did these giants begin doing? They started eating the humans and even each other. Just think, all of this could have been avoided if the Watchers weren't so pressed to have their way with the humans. Due to this crazy turn of events, God eventually chimed in to put his angels in a timeout, and his solution to the absolute anarchist bloodbath that the Watchers had brought upon Earth was to create a giant flood. He was pretty much like, you have messed this up so badly, let's just start from scratch. And as for the Watchers, they were imprisoned and forced to watch as their large sons either killed each other or drowned in the flood. So yeah, as a human woman, these guys would be my worst nightmare. Plus, they also ended the world.
In our number 10 spot, we have Lucifer. Well, obviously I'm gonna have Lucifer at the top of my list because, well, he is the fallen angel, the devil himself. Obviously he's going to be scarier than demons. In fact, I think he even created demons. I mean, I may be wrong though, but I think so. I need to brush up on my Bible facts someday soon and find out. Yeah, it most likely won't be someday soon, but not gonna lie, every so often I see a Bible and have the inspired thought of reading the Bible, and I think, how cool would it be to say that I've read the Bible. Anyways, Lucifer is not considered to be the devil in all religions, I just heard actually, and technically not all religions use the name Lucifer. But I think it's safe to say that the fallen angel, whether you call him Lucifer or not, is probably not a positive angel, and therefore it would most likely be scary. Most likely this fallen angel has terrified a demon or two. If you like this video, don't forget to smash that like button as it will really help us out. In our number 9 spot, we have Azrael. I mean, this one makes sense why someone might be fearful of it, because Azrael is the angel of death. Known as the Archangel of Death in Islam and the Angel of Death in Christian traditions, this is an angel you only want to see when you're ready to pass on, not any time before that. This angel is also known as the Grim Reaper. He has 4 faces and watches over the 4 cardinal points of the earth, so yeah, that's frightening to imagine. But that's not all. Apparently his whole body consists of eyes and tongues that consist of all the people from Earth. Who the heck came up with this? And also, why haven't I seen a scary movie with this person yet? I'm sure the makeup artist would be in heaven creating this angel. Although I'm not a big scary movie person, I'm more of a fantasy sci-fi type, so maybe there is one and I missed it. Anyways, this is pretty terrifying to imagine, a pretty terrifying angel, so no wonder this scares people, and this angel would for sure scare a demon. I mean, there's eyes and tongues all over its body. In our number 8 spot, we have Seraphim. Before this video, I had never heard of Seraphim before, which, again, not surprising. You probs won't find me in a church on Sundays, but not gonna lie, I will turn on Joel Osteen every so often. He just seems so lovely and he makes you want to hug everyone. Anyways, the Seraphim, I've learned, is a bunch of angels, the highest order of angels, who are said to guard God's throne. They are usually depicted as burning angels to represent them on fire with love for God. Apparently they are also described in the Bible as 6-winged beings, which is unclear if each one has 6 wings or collectively they have 6 wings. If they each have 6 wings and they are supposedly on fire, not only would that scare a demon, but it would haunt the dreams of the most wicked thing alive for sure. People also believe that they were the first creation of God and that they were created to help God know himself through their experiences. Weird thought. Huh. Anyone thinking what I'm thinking? Based God. In our number 7 spot, we have cherubs. The cherub is said to be angels involved in the worship and praise of God. Sometimes when I hear things like this, I wonder, if God is so selfless, why does he have people worship him? It makes you think about human ego and how it could have come out in the stories of God in heaven. Anyways, the cherub is described to be quite terrifying, but honestly, I'll let you decide. First off, they've got 4 heads, so there's that. The 4 faces are said to be a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. But not only that, it is said to have 4 wings. Apparently, 2 of the wings are for flying and 2 are for covering their body. But why? No one knows. Apparently, Satan was a cherub before falling, so Satan was the man's head within the 4 heads, or he was all 4 of the creatures. Very confusing. In any case, still uncomfortable to think about. In our number 6 spot, we have dominions. This angel is psychologically scary, which arguably can sometimes be worse than physically. Sometimes. The dominion angels are a group of angels that deliver justice, something I think everyone on a deep level is scared of. In other words, they deliver karma. There is justice served with everything that is put out into the world, whether it is good or bad, because another word for justice is just balance. But in the case of these angels, good and bad is not relative to the person perceiving it. The rules are absolute and strictly from God's perspective as to what is right and wrong. Anyways, these angels are known for delivering justice, and depending on who they meet, that might be a scary thought. They are portrayed in the Bible as beings that carry out judgments against sinful situations in this fallen world, while keeping in mind God's original intent as the creator and his good purposes. I do wonder though, if God's intent is for all of us to think and act the same, then why did he make us all think and act differently? Or is that a result of society corrupting us and making us think that we all want something different? I could talk about this all day. In our number 5 spot, we have Metatron. Metatron is a kick-ass angel in my opinion, but I suppose that is because I love uncovering the truth, and Metatron represents the shattering of realities and the forging of new
ones. I love discovering when I'm being narrow-minded about something. The world feels so much more bigger as a new world, a new perspective forms in my mind. Metatron is usually associated with Judaism. The Zohar sees him as the angel who oversaw the exodus of the people of Israel out of Egypt. He's also known as the Angel of the Veil. Metatron is depicted as a beautiful, colorful angel surrounded by light, and he is holding a cube that represents a sign of protection and support for us. He apparently also was once human, which honestly, after hearing that, it makes him feel a little creepy to me. Anyways, the fact that he works to shatter realities and forge new ones, he would definitely be frightening to all of the media demons altering our perceptions, am I right? Possibly terrifying to shapeshifter demons. In our number 4 spot, we have Archangel Michael. Look, I don't think Archangel Michael is scary at all, but I definitely think if he existed that he would be scary to demons. He is known as the angel, the most powerful archangel. You always hear people speak about Archangel Michael and his power. He is mentioned in the Bible fighting Satan. He's apparently the chief of the angels. So imagine being a little baby demon and you see Archangel Michael, you would scream like Macaulay Culkin in Home Alone and run away. Little baby demon. Just love me, guys. This is a fun list. Anyways, Michael is recognized as an angel by many religions, making him the one that is most likely real. And he is recognized as being powerful and the angel of God's army across the board, so beware demons. In our number 3 spot, we have Choronzon. Choronzon is known as the demon of dispersion, so no, not an angel, but needed an honorable mention because he is seemingly quite scary and would probably scare the other demons. He was actually mentioned and possibly praised quite frequently by Aleister Crowley, the notorious occultist, who has said that he is a serpent who dwells in the abyss and is the final big obstacle between the magician and true enlightenment. Choronzon was actually first mentioned though by a man named John Dee, who created a book that helps teach the language of angels, and interestingly enough, he was a consultant for Queen Elizabeth I. Anyways, he sounds scary being a serpent and a final obstacle and all. Who likes obstacles really? Not me. I'll take smooth sailing, please. In our number 2 spot, we have Archangel Uriel. Archangel Uriel is heavily associated with light and sunshine, which doesn't sound scary to us unless you're a basement kid that hates sunshine and happy people. But an angel of light and sunshine would absolutely be scary to a demon. Terrifying, for sure. He is sometimes depicted as holding a flaming sword or having a palm full of fire. Could be scary. Uriel has also been called a pillar of strength. Apparently, Uriel was one of the 4 angels that observed the fall of the Watchers that made God intervene and save humanity. Anyways, this angel sounds great for humans, but not great for demons, so I'm sure they would be terrified. In our number 1 spot, we have Kushiel. Kushiel is an angel popular in Judeo-Christianity, and he represents the god of punishment. More specifically, this is an angel that is said to be on the right hand of God, and he punishes individuals in hell like demons. So, I think it's safe to say that he is the most scariest angel of all. He is said to be one of 7 angels of punishment. It is said that he punishes with a whip made of fire. Yeah, that's scary. But I suppose if the demons are already in hell and hell is on fire, then a whip with fire may not be any different, because I'm assuming the souls / demons would already be burning? Who knows? Anyways, this angel has to be the scariest to demons.
Starting off this list in our number 10 spot, we have Furfur. Furfur is a fallen angel turned demon who is the 34th of the 72 spirits of Solomon. He is the Earl of Hell and has 26 legions of demons who listen to his every command. If one is summoning him, they must do so within the magician's triangle, or else he will not speak, and if he does, none of it will be truthful. He appears as a deer with a fiery tail, unless in the triangle, where he will appear as an angel, but he speaks with a rough and hoarse voice. Furfur has the ability to raise thunder, lightning, and powerful winds, and he also apparently causes love between a man and a woman, which doesn't seem all that bad, but everything I've read about him references it in a negative way. When he is trapped within the triangle, he will tell secrets of divine things.
Coming in at number 9, we have Seraphim. Seraphims are flying serpents. Need I say more? Seraphims appear in the book of Isaiah, and their name means burning ones or flying serpents. So not only are they flying snakes, but they are fiery flying snakes. And they don't just got one set of wings. No, because why would they? They actually have 6 wings sprouting from their back. 2 are said to be covering their face. Why? Well, when they are mentioned, they are flying by God on his throne and telling him how great and holy and glorious he is. They cover their eyes because they feel unworthy to look at God. Then they have 2 wings to cover their feet. Yeah, that's right, I forgot to mention that these snaky things have feet. They just keep getting weirder and weirder. Anyways, they hide their feet so God doesn't see anything imperfect about them. And then they have 2 wings that are actually used for flying. But still, they sound horrifying.
In our number 8 spot today, we have Raphael. Raphael is one of the true archangels and is the 4th oldest of the 5. He is a powerful healer, a guardian angel, and a great fighter, so you might be wondering why he landed a spot on today's list. Well, there's just one story in particular that I really wanted to talk about, and that story comes from the Book of Enoch. In this story, Raphael is in a battle with a demon, Azazel. Raphael is able to defeat the demon but decides to subject him to a fate worse than death. The story writes, "Bind Azazel hand and foot and cast him into the darkness, and make an opening in the desert, which is in Dune Dale, and cast him therein, and place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face so that he may not see light, and on the day of the great judgment he shall be cast into the fire." If that wasn't clear enough, Raphael tied this demon up, buried him alive in a hole full of rocks in the middle of the desert where he just now gets to wait until he can be thrown into a fire and burned alive. Like, what? I gotta say, that's very dark.
Coming in at number 7, we have Lucifer. He definitely deserves a spot on today's list. And before you go off being like, why is he on here? He's not an angel. Wrong. He was one. He's a fallen one. This is based on the book of Isaiah in the Bible. In it says, and I quote, "How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations?" So it said that Lucifer was once an angel, but then got banished to the depths of hell after he staged an uprising against God. I mean, I think it's pretty obvious as to why he's terrifying and on today's list. I mean, he rules hell and has an army of sinners and demons at his disposal. He then sends them to earth to terrorize humans and tempt them into committing sin. In fact, in the Bible, it's also believed that Lucifer, or Satan, was the snake that tempted Adam and Eve. He has a number of different forms he can change into. But of course, modern times have him depicted as a red-horned beast with a pitchfork.
In our number 6 spot today, we have Abizthabu. This fallen angel is described in the Testament of Solomon and is said to be one of the angels that followed Beelzebub upon his fall from heaven. He is the sin of pride and is known for his ability to lead people astray. He is most easily summoned in the month of July during the 5th hour of the night. After his fall from grace, he was left with only one red wing and was condemned to hell. He is said to have control over the imprisoned souls of Tartarus and plays a primary role in the demon world. He himself claims that he was once an angel in what is referred to as the first heaven, and after his fall he began to roam Egypt. During his time in Egypt, he met with Moses and the Israelites during the Exodus and opposed them. This is when he decided to harden the Pharaoh and his advisors' hearts and convince them to pursue those who were fleeing. He then went with the Egyptian army in pursuit of the Israelites, but the collapsing Red Sea crushed and drowned him, which left him imprisoned in a pillar of water. Despite being trapped, Beelzebub says that he will return for conquest.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with the cherubs. Now, you might be wondering, Lindsay, why are these on the list? Aren't they just plump naked kids with little bows and arrows? They're cute. No, sorry, but the Bible has them depicted a little differently. In fact, they are terrifying looking. They are described as, and I quote, "Their form was human, but each of them had 4 faces and 4 wings. Their legs were straight. Their feet were like those of a calf. Each had the face of a human being. And on the right side, each had the face of a lion. And on the left, the face of an ox. Each also had the face of an eagle." Yeah, you heard me correctly. They had 4 faces. A human one of a lion, a face of an ox, and then a face of an eagle.
I'm sorry, but that just makes me uncomfortable. There's too many faces going on. But wait, that's not all. Each head had its own set of wings, and they appear to be on fire. So they're just a weird human-animal hybrid thing that's on fire. Can't forget the fire part. But wait, it gets worse. In Ezekiel 10:8, it claims that their backs, hands, wings, and their whole body were covered in eyes. That concerns me. Why do they need that many eyes? Imagine summoning that thing. Like, its appearance alone would just scare the crap out of you. No thank you.
In our number 4 spot today, we have Asbiel. Asbiel had to be included on this list today if for any reason, because his name literally means God forsaken or God deserter. Asbiel is the angel of ruin and one of the fallen angels from the Grigori. After leaving the angelic post and straying from the angelic duties, Asbiel dedicated his life to leading humanity astray. Asbiel completely abandoned God and his grace and wishes nothing from him. Asbiel believes that God is basically just another common celestial who has hoarded all of the power at the expense of the rest of creation. During and after his fall, Asbiel questioned why God wouldn't just completely remove any evil and malice in the hearts of his creations, and this led to him believing that God was a tyrant who only cared about worship and praise.
Coming in at number 3, we have Samael. First off, Samael's name literally means the venom of God, the poison of God, or blindness of God. Pretty intense for an angel, right? Well, he's not just any angel. No, he's an archangel of death. He killed people under God's orders. So basically, when God tells him to go kill someone, he will show up and confront them with his sword drawn. The tip of the sword contains a drop of poison, so when he jabs the person, it will not only cause a nasty wound, but will contaminate their blood with poison and they will die a slow, painful death. Now, in Hebrew lore, he is the prince of demons and is the executioner of death sentences handed out by God. He is also called the seducer. Why? Well, he is known to seduce people into acts of evil. He seduces them so that they will sin, and then God's like, oh, we got another one, go kill them. Like, that's really dark.
In our number 2 spot today, we have Azrael. Azrael appears in many religions in our world and is often referenced as being the angel of death. His job is to watch over those who are dying and separate the soul from the body, and he receives the spirit of the dead. Rather than being death personified, he is more thought of as being a servant to the will of God. He is, however, referred to as the embodiment of evil. Not that he himself is evil, but just the embodiment of it. He is said to have 4 faces and 4,000 wings, and his whole body is covered in eyes and tongues, which directly correlates to how many people there are on Earth. Like, imagine being visited by an angel that looks like that, and then knowing that seeing him probably means you're about to die. Just not a good situation in general. It is said that Azrael will be the last to die, and he is constantly recording and erasing the names of men at birth and death. I thought my job sometimes got a little dark, but I'll take this one over that one any day.
And in our number 1 spot today, we have the Watchers. First off, why would they give angels such an intense name like the Watchers? Like, it sounds creepy already. Anyways, basically the Watchers came down to Earth to watch over the humans. But while down here they got distracted and fell in love with women. They ended up procreating among them, but this was a disaster. Their offspring were these savage giants who pillaged the earth and put humanity at risk. Like, literally, they started killing and eating people. Not only that, it's said that the Watchers were the ones that taught humans about weapons and violence. So yeah, these angels had one job and managed to screw it all up.
Want to see more videos like this one? Check out this video next. It's about real-life exorcism stories that were performed by real priests. Click the video now to find out more.